Okay, there we go. Now I can. I bet you can hear me now. Hey, hey. Nothing like nothing like turning on the microphone. Let's see. Let's see about some. That gets rid of the feedback. All right. And I've got. Let's see if the YouTube. Yeah, YouTube chat works. All right. Let's see. We got some functional stuff going on here. Rich Gregory, how are you? Rich, are you? Can you hear audio now? I can just. Oh, I can just. Okay, good. Yes, audio does seem to work. Well, Rich, how are you, my friend? It's been a while. Alan Gower, appropriately enough, here's guitar. What's up, Alan? You'll be happy to know that's what I was doing for quite some time before. I'm prepping for my first couple gigs in ages, you know, and that's why there's a weird arpeggio that's been kind of bit crushed in this looper. Let me fade this out. Yeah, I'm thinking of I'm putting together my system for a gig. Well, I'm not gonna derail myself on that, but that's what I'm doing. Let me turn my voice up. There we go. All right, how's that? My friends, let me know if there's King Joachim. What's going on, my friend? You're the king. You're the Viking, and good to see you there. Um, yeah, Alan, that was the Boss SY 1000, which I've said recently is my new favorite thing. And I don't get new things that often. It's been many years. Maybe I've skipped the last 10 things they've come up with, but this really is special. Anyway, let me get settled in. Yeah, I thought I'd got to get back to the Monday hangs, especially, um, when I'm off the road. So I'm here in my icy wooded hideout, and I'm just a few feet away from where um, was it Steve Buscemi in The Sopranos running through the snow and someone got shot. Here it is, right here, and good to be back. I got to make sure I stay on top of the comments. Scott McNeil, thank you. Wow, happy best to you also in this new year. I can't believe it's the third week. We're starting the third week of this year, and I mean, I say that with quotes around. Of course, I believe it. New York Grasshopper says hi. I forget who are you, New York Grasshopper. Good to see you here. Let's see. Just fixing some settings here. This is all kind of new to me again, which is fun. So best to all of you, and in this prime year, right? Prime number year, which is cool. Trying to see how I can get this. There we go. I can get this video in front of me with the chat. There we go. Awesome. So I can. Awesome. So again, folks, I love the feedback on Sonics. Please keep on that and let me know. Hey, this is a little echo, right? It's a little. Oh, look at that. We got a little sound effects. We just need some reverb. Basic reverb. Where's that? How about that? Yeah. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1. Let's keep it. Hey. Looking for simple reverb. There we go. A little verb. So it's a little more radio style. What do we have? Some plate reverbs. I got this cheap mixing desk at a pawn shop. Really, I forget, $50, $60. It's amazing. But it's got all these effects built into it. So you got a little. Here we go. Yeah. Check 1, 2. All right. Let's see. Looks like my feed has frozen. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Really, I forget, $50, $60. It's amazing. There we go. All right. Awesome. We're going to talk about some food. We're going to talk about what's been going on. We're going to talk about anything you like. But mainly, I want to just remind people, hey, just once a week, maybe go animal free. That's what this show's about. It's been a while since I've been here, but that's really still what it's about. Just encouraging people to check out some alternatives. What an amazing time we live in, where the alternatives are everywhere you look. But I'm going to talk about that. Talk about Jeff Beck a little bit today. Wow, that's been filling my heart and mind and my soul and my musical reality. I was 15 years old and got that cassette. I got the cassette, the wired cassette, and so grateful at that young age to be into some pretty amazing, progressive music. I think is the right word, and that not even meaning Yes and Tull and Genesis, who I did like around then, but things a little different. Weird records, Stevie Wonder, My Life, the Secret Life of Plants. Wow, that's a very weird record. I found out as an adult, but as a kid, you listen to things like that, or ELO. What was that record with the spaceship? That's a weird record, all kinds of weird stuff. Steely Dan. I was really lucky. I was 12 years old, and a friend hated the Steely Dan cassette and gave it to me. And I give so much thanks to that kid. Just infinite, because at 12 I was able to hear the weird Steely Dan 2-chord or 9-chord, if you prefer, the weird Steely Dan, world and arrangement of tones and ideas. And Steely Dan at 12 kind of gives you some space to really enjoy jazz. First of all, my stepdad played a lot of jazz, and I was like, okay, there's a pathway into this. Sure, feels good to me. It was on the radio. Remember that? Chuck Mangione. Me reverb. So you had funk and slap bass, and then that guitar solo. Anyway, getting off the track a little bit, but not really. It's free form. So any of those topics. Couple things I have to respond though to folks. Joachim, I'm glad you're fine, and hope you're feeling well. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I no pains, no aches. Need to exercise a lot more than I am. Need to work off the beer. 3 years of beer, and but I feel good. Yeah, I'm about to be 58, so you kind of take stock at that point. I may drop dead tomorrow. That's the reality we're in, folks, and we need to really embrace that. You don't know. Any day. The only thing you know for sure is kind of the sun will be there. Because anything can happen. We could have earthquakes, volcanoes, things like that. Although we have a really good handle on predicting those and we know when meteorites are coming near. We know a lot of the big tragedies But you never know. You could drop dead. And having said that, in answer to your question, I'm taking stock and saying, get a little healthier, get a little better, but giving thanks and gratitude that at 58, yeah, could be doing a lot worse. I'm about to get my annual checkup, and that's always good, and that reminds you to work on this, work on that. Usually for me, it's lose some weight, get back in the gym. That's kind of my sticking point. Used to be a lot more active, younger, which everyone probably says, but really giving thanks that the other stuff, that a 58-year-old African descent adult male, as most 58 years are adult. The list of things that I statistically should be working on every day. I give thanks a lot to myself for the work of the 40 years that I don't have diabetes, that I don't have heart disease and things like that. I got all kinds of other shit, mental problems, but nothing that's not fixable. So a couple things. Rich, you're going to Bad Doberan, huh? But yeah, I see the spell check. I knew what she meant. Bad Doberan. Of course, it would be spelled correctly by Siri. No plans for that. And I will also answer Joachim's question at the same time. Yeah, coming to Europe in June, whenever the Pat Metheny dates start in Europe. They're on the website, some of them I think, but June or July, I don't even know. I just show up with my passport wherever they, show me which way the load-in door is. That's why I have so much mental illness, because I'm so used to situations where I don't have to think about which just go in this building and work all day. I need that. So yeah, Rich, sorry, I'm not going to see Zappanale again. I believe it's mid-July this year, right? Just talking to Ray White about that. Because they're going to be there, right? The Zappa band, I believe. I think so. I don't know. They're looking at them. Having some emergency. No, it's Solgar vitamin C. Haven't had that in a while. Well, how's everyone doing? What did you have for lunch today? That's always a good starting point. And who is my Celine? Okay, right, of course, Celine. New York Grasshopper. I forgot. It's been that long. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Celine, let's start with your update, my friend. It's been ages, and our last episode, our most recent episode, you were, getting into plant-based food, trying new recipes, doing different things, and cooking stuff for your mom, and getting your mom more into traditional Turkish foods, right, that are meatless and different alternatives. How's it going? Like any cool news in either direction? Benny Rodriguez. What's up, my friend? And those who don't know us might think, why is he saying the guy's name like that? Well, Benny and I, we just have a good time. And I will return his greeting with some reverb. That's for you, Benny. How about a little more reverb? Love you, bro. Hope you're doing all right. What's up? Wow, just the new year, trying to sort it out. I got a lot of things that I need to catch up on already. How did that happen? How am I scrambling already? It's Monday, January 16th. But, it's nothing that a couple cups of caffeine and just sitting in front of the computer, getting back to work cannot solve. But I'm working on a couple tours, a couple things that are coming up. So that's cool. So yeah, what did you have for lunch? Anyone? Um, oops. Why don't I see? Okay, here's YouTube. Okay, great. So we're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. I figured out how to do this all again. Actually, it was not as painless as I would have thought. Not as painful as I would have thought. Not as painless as I would have thought. Not as painful as I would have thought. Okay, good. So on Twitch, a nice signal is going there. This all kind of teaches me to how to learn. Teaches me how to do the technology. Said like a true grandpa, I'm doing this technology. No, just understanding how some of these streaming apps work, and they're changing all the time. It's a beautiful thing. All right, let's move this to the edge here. So yeah, a couple of things. A friend had asked the other day, like, what's my thoughts on the egg crisis? So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Egg prices are way up, and there's a bird flu outbreak. There's all this stuff. This is important stuff to think about because bird flu has jumped into humans before. It's other types, other viruses. I shouldn't even say bird flu, but different viruses, right, have jumped from various animals to humans. And I don't know if this one is or will or could, but it is something to think about because it's happened scores of times in just our lifetime. Let's see. Getting back to Celine's response. Celine, thank you for that. Not a ton of updates. You've been eating a bit more plant-based when you can. At school since April. She challenged. Okay, great. So sounds good. Sounds that you're still exploring that, which is great. One of the things I want to address in upcoming shows, I've got a lot of ideas. I got some guests that I'm going to get back to having and just some topic-oriented days. But one of them is an interesting topic, one that's come up for me over the years, especially when working as a professional in natural foods. But the idea of when people quit a plant-based diet, when they quit being vegetarian, quit being vegan, quit any of these things, which is fine, which happens. People quit all kinds of things. People quit drinking alcohol because they quit drinking alcohol, then they quit that and go back to drinking. Or they quit certain types of exercise. Everyone bought not everyone, but lots of people bought a Peloton during the heart of the pandemic. And I saw an article not too long ago about the rash of available used Pelotons. So we quit things, we stop things. January is a month, too, where people make a lot of resolutions. I kind of stopped any kind of conscious attempt to do that. I think about the new year because it is a calendar thing. The Julian calendar is largely this made-up construct, but there's something to it too. I mean, there are seasons, there are solstice moments that are actual astronomical, geological kind of realities, planetary realities. So the beginning of the year, even if you're someone who just measures the moons, the 12 moons that happen, and then they repeat, and then there's cycles that are going on. Even if you do that, there's something to this new cycle. So people make New Year's resolutions, they make all kinds of stuff, and our cliche for all of us, myself included, we've all done this. You overpromise for yourself, right? You come up with all this stuff, and you just don't do it, or you do it for about this long, 2 weeks. So I want to be a support thing, a support source, a support period for people who feel like, this isn't working for me. I don't feel full enough, or I'm not getting enough protein, or this or that. I want to help people who have not seen benefits from a plant-based diet. And again, that's something I've done for over 15 years of my life as a professional, and just informally with friends and people for longer. Let me put my anti-sibilance little thing on here. This little foam microphone. I should mute so that touching the microphone. Hold on a second. All right. That was pretty noisy, but worth it to go off mic for a minute. Now I got this little foam thing. So yeah, some thoughts there. But I'm going to talk about the bird issue. The egg issue in a minute. My first reaction is, come on, how much cheaper do you want eggs? Yeah. I mean, I would say $10 for what do you call it? I don't even know. A dozen, of course, I know the number. $10 for a dozen eggs. Let's do the math on that. That's under $1 an egg. I can't do the math quickly enough, but I don't know, what is that? 75 cents an egg or 81 cents an egg, something in there. 85 cents. So what? I mean, because you're gonna sit to have an omelet for $5 or $6, which might, so when you look at it that way, like, what's the market value of an egg or even 2 eggs? So $10, and for good organic, clean eggs is what I'm talking about, would still be fair. Like, it would, because maybe you could pay the people working in the egg plant somewhere near, people don't realize, man, this is, I love when stuff gets expensive. I do. I really do. I love when gas goes up. I love when eggs go up. I love when beef goes up. And even things I eat, black beans or lettuce or whatever you can name. I love it because it's the only thing that makes us change some stuff. And we've changed a bunch of stuff. This thing that Biden recently did with insulin prices, that only came about because the prices were rising and rising and rising and rising. That's a rare example. Rarely does the government act appropriately to tell the manufacturers, to tell the source of pricing that, guys, but the thing with agricultural items is that they are the key to us changing some stuff. Food is very cheap in the USA. It's really cheap. I travel the whole world, and big chunks of it. I've been to 5 continents. I've not been yet to Africa. I say yet because that's a major aspiration and bucket list sort of a thing. Have not been to the either pole, Antarctica or the Arctic, which isn't a continent. But of the continents, have not yet been to Antarctica and Africa. But in the other places I go, relatively speaking, we have really cheap food in America. Very, very cheap. Because we have really cheap labor. We have a massive, massive part of the agricultural labor cost that is offset by it being a lot of undocumented people, a lot of illegal people who get abused. I want them documented so they're not abused. I am an immigrant. I'm a legal immigrant, and I want it to be accessible and legal for many more people. But that's the key of it. Both sides, and I don't say that often because the sides are so different, actually, but both sides, they overlap 20% of stuff or whatever. I don't care. You could pick 40%, but they overlap on some minimal level compared to the other stuff in their portfolio. But one of the areas they overlap is taking that corporate money, taking that money for funds. And if someone's tuning in, what does this have to do with food? It has everything to do with food. Because I'm talking about the pricing of food, the pricing of eggs right now, and the pricing of other things, vegetables, whatever, various commodities, animal-based foods, flesh foods, dairy, all these things. We should be talking about the pricing of them and how we subsidize them as taxpayers. But something I'd like people to think about, that, when people complain about illegal employees of the agriculture industry, when people complain about that, which a lot of people tend to, and the people who complain that the illegals are taking our jobs tend to be from the right politically, and I ask them all the time, are you okay then paying higher prices? Because if vast millions of these folks become legal, which they should, and I advocate, then they will have to get, they'd be on the books with all their employers, which means FICA and, Social Security getting taken out, and unemployment insurance being available to them, and workman's comp, which I'm surprised hasn't been changed to work person's comp. It should. That's one of the ones where, let's move forward and make that a little bit more inclusive. But work person's comp and a whole number of things. Suddenly, whatever the local minimum wage is, whatever the federal minimum wage, if it applies. And so that's the secret to all this mess, is that no one really wants to do that. No one really wants to be paying people sensible hourly rates. And then that gets to the second problem. If there's even a whiff of paying people properly, what do corporations usually say? And you're seeing it with the eggs, which again, I'm on topic with this. They pass along the slightest increase in doing business. Notice that? I mean, this is a cliche people talk about all the time. As soon as prices go up for a company, boom, it reflects to us minutes later, later that day. But when they have windfall profits, as these rat bastards did for 2 years and counting, 3 years now, just about, we're about 60 days short of it being 3 years of unbelievable, unbridled profit for all these companies, right? From Amazon with the increased delivery to their subsidiary Whole Foods, to DoorDash and any kind of food delivery, to every one of these restaurants that, from you name it, that started delivering. Anyone doing mail order, everyone saw these massive increase in profit. The streaming movies and streaming services of all types, anything to do with sitting at home and consuming things, went through the roof. And did any of that reflect back to raising the salaries of their people? Not that often. So something at hand there. Love your thoughts on some of that. All right, I'll shut up now and check some comments. Was Jeff Beck on the GTO's album? Yes, he was, and so were some of the mothers. Random questions, random stuff is fine. That was a message, but so Rich Gregory says 1918 was H1N1 mutated, still with us. Yeah, bird flu, right? Is that pig flu, pig virus? I'm not sure. Jimmy Hazel, the one and only Jimmy Hazel. What's up, my brother? So good to see you, man. And I'm glad you were back on stage with 24/7 Spies a few months ago. Wow. Never thought I'd see that. No. I did hope that was going to happen, but it caught me off guard when it did. Didn't think it was happening. Didn't happen when it happened. That's what got me. Like, it was last summer. You guys did a thing, and that was great. Make it happen some more. And my boy Tobias Ralph on drums, really cool. Thanks for the well wishes, folks, and I hope you have a good year too. It's a prime number, a prime year. 23. What are we gonna do with this? It's not gonna be boring. That's for sure. Here's some more. There's some guitar. Sounds like a warped record, right? It's kind of a bit crushed loop there. Since we're talking about guitar, H1N1 was birds to pigs to people. Oh, happy day. And all of that shit, man. It's all our fault because of the conditions we create for these animals, the damage to their immune systems that we create, the filthy conditions that we create for them. We make them into cannibals, right? We feed chickens all kinds of mess that has other animals in it, as well as chicken feathers and things ground up as cheap protein. Pigs and cows often encounter pig and cow in their mix of food, not to mention all kinds of other stuff, gelatin and roadkill and rendered animal fat and all these generic terms that indeed are not what these animals would eat. And these are basically vegetarian animals. Most of the ones we eat: cows, pigs. Cows, goats. Pigs will eat anything, right? But they're fine on a plant-based diet, just foraging around and eating fruit that fell and things like that. But they'll eat anything. They certainly will be carnivorous if it's available to them. They're omnivorous, but completely fine living on the plant source. They root a lot of things up. If you have a garden with any root stuff in it, turnips, beets, potatoes, tomatoes, carrots, you have anything like that, pigs will dig that shit up. Truffles, right? The famous truffle snorting pig, sniffing pigs. So they're fine, and you watch them in nature. They're not hunting rabbits and things like that. Wild boars get into a bit more the hunter side of a pig, but the basic one we domesticate. Certainly cows, you watch them in nature. Certainly goats. Chickens will be fine on some worms and little bugs and seeds, grain seeds, and bits of plant material that they can find. Birds certainly more on the carnivorous side, right? They will eat other birds, right? They'll eat eggs. Actually, they'll eat all kinds of things. So again, largely omnivorous albums, omnivorous animals, and some of them drift over into being almost fully plant-based. All of that to say, whatever they eat, it's not each other normally, right? It happens once in a while, sure. Cannibalism exists all around the animal kingdom. But in general, they wouldn't be eating ground-up, processed versions of themselves and other animals. So we do this. We're the ones suppressing their immune systems. We're the ones making them sick. So, yeah, Rich, to bring up H1N1, that shit is, that's on us. Scott asking about Zappa. Have not yet. Just a couple of the singles. I might actually buy that one. I don't buy many physical objects other than instruments and pawn shop finds and things like that. But I might actually order that new Zappa, the box. I saw the booklet. I got a JPEG copy of the book. It's fantastic. On one level, do I need to see the actual physical one now, right? I've seen it, I've read it, I've seen the pictures, I read the credits. I'm going through that philosophical question a lot in this part of my life. Do I then need the physical thing? Why? I saw the information on it, but do I need that to put it on the shelf and really not look at it till whenever, sometimes never in your life? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. It's a big question mark. For me, generally, though, it means that I don't bother to buy the physical stuff. But this new Zappa, yeah, I love that period. Waka Jawaka, grandmas who love it. And it's got all kinds of things on it, right? Live stuff and outtakes and stuff. Have not gotten it yet. Maybe, though. Let's see. Going back to YouTube. Make Word Music, good to see you. My dear friend. Oh, did they change it from workman's comp to workers' comp? Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Did not know that. And to my point, right? It should have been evolved a long time ago. I'm glad it did. Um, that's awesome. Um, how old are the strings on that guitar? It just sounds like it. It's degraded digitally. Yeah. Um, it's actually my Strat, my Mexi Strat, my Jeff Beck style Strat. It's one of the people I think about when I'm playing that Strat. Man, it's the same, you know, black Strat with a white pick guard, kind of Jeff Beck central, and it's the Roland Ready one. So it's got the Roland pickup on it, and I'm working on some stuff for these shows I have coming up, trying to decide how to use the smallest rig possible because I'm only playing for 25 minutes. It does sound ancient, yes. Um, all right, so anyway, any thoughts on the egg thing? Because so there's this bird flu, but of course, places are taking advantage of it. I'm just reading here. This is January 13th article. Average retail price for a dozen large eggs, $7.37 in California, up from $2.35 this time last year. Yeah, $2.35 is effing ridiculous. It's an insult. Really, you need eggs to be $2.35 a gallon? Boy, what a Freudian slip. Um, the gas shouldn't be $2.35 either. But let's say $2.35 divided by 12. What is that? 20 cents. Yeah, good guess, Andre. Uh, it's 19 and a half cents per egg. So 20 cents an egg. Come on, man. It's an insult. You really think that 20 cents per egg you're paying someone to feed and handle and process these chickens and sort eggs and stuff. A lot of this is machined, of course, but a lot of it, there's humans involved, and they're getting paid crap so you can have a 20-cent egg. Wake up. It's just hateful, actually. It really is. And probably someone's going, come on, Andre, it's the free market. Yeah, a lot of things were the free market, and they weren't right. And why it's hateful is the reaction of people when it goes up, because there just doesn't seem to be that feedback loop of what you're paying for. The broken part, though, is all the executives and all the egg companies could very well have absorbed this. That's the other side of this hellish deal. They didn't need to raise anything. They could have just said, you know what? That $16 million bonus I'm going to get this year, let's just make it $12 million. I'm going to be the big guy or gal. I'm going to put $4 million back in the machine. Just give me $12 million on top of my 9, 10, 11 figure salary. We'll figure it out. We'll take one of the horses out of private school, or we'll sell one of the lower Picassos. We'll do something. We'll tighten up. We can do it. Can we get by on 3 yachts? Yes, there's a way. So that whole class of people, if they ever said, yeah, we can tighten up a tiny bit, then eggs wouldn't go up from $2.35 to whatever they are, seven and change. But see, that's the thing. We allow them to just keep throwing it back on us. So the egg thing is funny because I'm watching so many people freak out. Wow, y'all need to get ready because this isn't even. Yeah, this is the slightest reminder of our broken food system. So they're saying this bird flu continues to ravage bird populations across the U.S. It's the deadliest bird flu outbreak in our history. 50 million birds have been killed by that. Probably that many are killed every day, so you can have cheap Chick-fil-A, but it's a very selective. Birds have died not only from the virus, but also in most cases from humans killing them. They hold it culling to keep the virus from spreading further. Good luck. And then there's a bunch of states that have implemented bans from caged birds, um, which California did, and I love it. Yeah, anything that pushes back on the sloppy, unregulated or barely regulated conditions that animals have to be in. Anything that improves that, I'm for, and each of those things could raise the price. But again, until we start saying to the the um, the producers, um, you absorb this. We watch your profits. You're posting multi-billion-dollar profits per quarter and crowing about it. So, why do you keep raising consumer prices? This argument in American culture is it's one we just don't make enough. We just don't do anything when we have the power. We have the buying power to just. I mean, if you took 1 week off eggs, and you said to the industry, not buying eggs for a week or 10 days or something, imagine that. Imagine if millions of Americans said, you know what, just not going to have eggs for a week because why am I paying the increase? It's a funny thing. Again, eggs should be more than $2 or $3 a dozen, but the bastards at the top of the corporate pile is always getting away with it, you know. Um, and let's see. Let's see. Uh, 2 12. Okay. Let's see. So your comments, your questions. Anyone? And is anyone like, you know what? I buy organic eggs. Those prices have stayed a little more stable. Um, Rich Gregory says just needs digital copies. Yeah, I agree. Back to the buying things. I know. I fight that. I don't. I don't buy him that much. BJ Lederman, how are you, my friend? Yeah, I need BJ Lederman to write me a theme song. That would be pretty cool. Um, uh, good to see you, my friend. Hope to see you around town soon. Rich says everyone up here has chickens. Yeah, look, people have their own chickens and they're raising their own chickens and getting their own eggs. Um, you know, great, and people who do that tend to be a lot more, um, cognizant of what it takes to raise them and feed them and keep them safe and healthy. And people who own chickens, the ones I've known, tend to understand that, oh wow, actually to optimize the protein sources from this animal, if I keep it alive, I got a longer thread here of getting the eggs for perhaps years on end for that one chicken. Most of the people do ultimately kill the chicken or kill the extra ones, quote unquote. But I'm much more in support, of course, of people having birds, having chickens in their home. Yeah. So to that question, at least. All right. Tim says it takes consensus. Yeah, especially some of the Americans aren't great at. I know. It's funny. I mean, you know what it comes down to? And I love America. I love my adopted country. We came here as immigrants. I give thanks every day. I was born in British Guyana, South America. It was British Guyana when I was born in '65. Became Guyana a year later. I give thanks to the families that helped my immigrant parents, my student dad, and my mom trained as a secretary who then worked at Presbyterian St. Luke's in Chicago. My dad went to Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago. I grew up as a baby in Chicago for 5 years. wow, the kind and lovely people who helped us as immigrants in 1965, brown-skinned immigrants from South America coming into that milieu of civil rights fights and people fighting for civil rights and the pushback and the violence and all the stuff that was happening right in 65, right? They hadn't yet murdered MLK, who today is, a day to celebrate MLK, hadn't yet murdered Malcolm X, hadn't yet murdered Robert Kennedy. So I give thanks to folks who helped us come here, and I want immigrants to come here and to be legal and get the full rights and the benefits and to be paid fairly and to know their kids have the right to school and to daycare and school lunches and all the way on up to but to your point, Tim, the consensus, it's such a big country that I guess we have a couple bits of consensus, right? Clearly, I mean, I'm going to try to not go too far down this road, but it's politics, food prices, they're inseparable. People love to go, I don't like politics. Well, you don't have a choice. Have you used a stoplight today? Well, then politics impacted your life. Because at some point, political forces decided to put a stoplight at that corner because of the math, because of the traffic, because of the congestion involved. And political forces implemented the laws that will impel you to stop when it's red and to punish you appropriately if you disobey that law. That's right. You'd be disobeying something you have to do that the government is telling you to do. I know that triggers some people, but that's why I do it. Because you can't live in a society without doing a bunch of stuff that you're compelled to do. So, Tim, you touched on a really interesting area, consensus. So, again, it's the third biggest country on earth, population-wise. And so we're, in a way, we're just unmanageable, I think, at that level. The math is so huge that we have we just have a couple types of consensus, and they don't line up often enough. We just can't seem to agree even on the basics. But you raise a good point. It is about a consensus number. One of the greatest examples for me is the French, particularly, but the French, European socialist democracies or democratic socialism, whichever way people want to put it. Those countries all tend to run that way. But what blows my mind is in all those countries, in the Philippines, in Peru, in Chile, not just European countries, but all those countries that have a little bit more of a socialized vibe, they know how to strike. They know how to strike. When the call comes out that, hey, we have to support the railway workers, or we have to support the hospital workers, or all women in this whole area are not being paid fairly, or this is happening and that's happening, they go ahead and they strike. They stay home. They make soup for a few days because you have to give something up. They don't. We couldn't do that here, though. You're right. There's no. Not that that's what you're saying, but the consensus doesn't come about because it would take, in the incidents of things like strikes or things like protesting high prices of something, we just won't do it because you'd have to sacrifice for a week. So it's really depressing. Ann Everett says, no kill free-range chickens here. Their family does. Oh, that's great. So you have chickens, you don't kill them. That's awesome. And you just utilize their eggs, which I'm, again, big fan of eggs as a healthy... Eggs are kind of one of the most perfect foods. They're one of the kind of 3 perfect foods, more or less, that nutritionists talk about. So that's right. I'm a vegan, but I'm an honest one, an intellectual one, a science-based one, which many of them are, which many of us are. So that's why I can speak about eggs and dispassionately say, yes, on the numbers, eggs are an incredible food. They really are. And it's no surprise. An egg is going to become a full being. It's going to be an animal. It's going to be a bird at some point. So everything's in there, right? There's protein, there's minerals, there's all the different vitamins. There's a lot of fat soluble vitamins because there's a lot of fat in there, good fat, right? There's really good omega 3s. All of them are in there, I believe, omega 3, 6, and 9. I can't remember actually if they're all, maybe no 6. Someone correct me on that. But omega 3s, wow, an amazing source of good fatty acids in an egg. B vitamins are in eggs, right? Yes, all your vitamins, all your minerals, good fats. Lecithin is in eggs, which is very important for cholesterol metabolism. And there is cholesterol in eggs. Now, that's where it gets into the discussion. Do you actually need to eat cholesterol? You don't. Cholesterol is very important. Your eyesight and your brain and your nerve endings, all kinds of things wouldn't function properly without cholesterol. But you'll make all the cholesterol you need in your body from plants if you wanted to. That said, one of the beauties of egg is that it's got cholesterol, and it also has lecithin, which is important for, again, cholesterol metabolism in the body. So you can overdo eggs because you can overdo intake of cholesterol that's not your own. But in general, eggs, it's been funny watching the journey of eggs, right? We've all kind of commented on this. And we're talking like the Time magazine, Newsweek magazine, cover story of eggs, right? In our lifetime, if you're of a certain age, you've seen it be the worst food ever to the best food ever, and then it's bad, then it's good. I've always chuckled at that because right down the middle is a sensible discussion that talks about the quality of the egg, the quantity you're eating, how you're preparing it, different things like that, and other things you're eating. But as usual, especially in America, we look for quick headline solutions. Digging into the nuance of something is not our thing. So let's go back to some questions. Oh, I cannot neglect YouTube. Oh my God. Let me go back. Make weird music. Okay, so happy that you're here today. Ancient Strings. Lots of thoughts on eggs. There we go. Well, you just heard a bunch of my thoughts on eggs. I'm sure they overlap at some point. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you about eggs. Grocery stores are not innocent either. Yeah. Nothing I was saying implied actually that at the retail level there's innocence. Absolutely, and thanks for making sure I made that explicit. But that should be implicit. Let me put it this way: the whole chain from the backside of the chicken, from the minute the egg drops, the whole chain right to when you pick it up in a supermarket, there's corruption, there's dishonesty, there's greed, there's gaming of the system, there is hypocrisy. The biggest hypocrisy is all these companies like to talk about free market, free market, free market. But as soon as they have a bad time, whether it's weather or a bird flu or a bad year, they're going to come to us looking for money. I guarantee the bird industry is going to come to us, the taxpayers, when this is settled down. Guaranteed. And it's like, F you guys. That's one of your liabilities for running a business based on the unpredictable nature of living beings. Tough shit. You'll have good times and bad times. During the good times, though, none of you never give anything back. They never do. When they show record billions in profit, Tyson Chicken, Purdue Chicken, Bell and Evans on the organic, more natural side or whatever. I'm just thinking of brand names. Whatever ones you can plug in. None of them in a good quarter says, "Oh wow, we just literally pocketed countless billions of dollars. We're going to take $5 million and put it towards a water purification effort here in Arkansas to help with the rivers and streams that we've been dumping in for decades with little or no recompense to the taxpayer." Right? Do you ever see that? So the hypocrisy. So yeah, I'm with you, Anthony, all the way, every step of the way. I'm with you to condemn all the way to the grocery stores. It gets into a mixed bag because the grocery stores, as the final stop, are finally paying people more. I ask all the time when I'm in stores. I asked I don't often go to Whole Foods a couple times a year, but I was in one the other day, and I asked, "Do you have get a living wage?" And the guy said, "Well, and we had a discussion on that. I asked that in Guitar Center the other day. The gentleman helped me was getting $10 an hour. But then I was in a Walmart, which I also don't go into often, but I do go, because I'm often on a budget, or sometimes that's where the bus stops on a tour. But I go to Walmart from time to time. And here's one of the reasons I go. When I ask their employees in there, they're getting $20 and $22 and $25 an hour. The guy in the electronics area said, "Oh yeah, I started at like 18 something, and then I've gone up ever since." People just on the floor are making 15, 18, $20 an hour. So Walmart has stepped up to the plate on that, and they're also matching benefits. They're matching, different collegiate things if you apply and you're an employee. What does this have to do with food, Andre? Everything. Because the discussion today launched, inspired by this egg thing. It's just a reminder that going a little more plant-based, which is my goal for this show, and you've heard about me talk about it for a couple of years, it means you can find some less expensive foods. It means you can grow some food yourself. Even just a couple pots of herbs on your windowsill. That's some parsley and cilantro and basil and rosemary you're not going to buy. And then if you have a little more space, or you have a backyard or front yard or just a little space, just growing some tomatoes, some peppers, some cherry tomatoes, some things like cucumbers and green onions. I mean, there's so many things that grow easily in a tiny space. And then as you go out from that, if you actually have a yard and you have some space, wow, right? And I'm glad that has gone up exponentially in these 3 years. If you can grow some kale, some potatoes, get some dead wood and inoculate with some shiitake spores, grow yourself some mushrooms. So easy to grow 8 or 10 items. And that's obviously something people are thinking about now as they look at their food bills. So I love it. It's all connected. So back to Anthony saying, my friends and family having trouble with chicken feed costs. Well, again, I kind of shrug. They got into a business that was really dirt cheap in its inputs. It was. And so now that it's going up to a more realistic cost that reflects global market values. Free market. Not everyone gets to stay in the chicken business, right? That's what's interesting. Everyone talks about free market. Everyone talks about the brutal honesty of the American model. But as soon as it's affecting them, I'm not saying that your friends are saying this. Of course, I don't know that. But I see other people in the chicken torture and slaughter business or the cow slaughter and torture business, and very few are not at doing that. Let's call things what they are. But I see very few people saying, "Oh well, the market compelled us to. We just couldn't do it anymore, so we sold the farm." That would be the only honest response. It really would. I know reality is so brutal, isn't it? But if we worship this thing called free market, one of the analogs of this is how, and this is going to trigger some people, but do I care? Another analog of this is how the MAGA, the right, the modern GOP talks about democracy and America's so great. Agreed on both of those things. But then when you lose, it means you lose and you walk away. What? You just and a pox on Al Gore's house, because when he lost and it was recounted and without getting into whether there were shenanigans or not, maybe earlier than 30 days he should have said, "Yeah, I lost." Not the greatest example, I know, because there was legit cheating there that we found out later. But this whole thing of I love the rules unless they apply back to me. I just see a parallel there with not admitting elections, and then once business goes bad, and we've seen this with the apple industry, the dairy industry, really all of the agriculture industries, big time 2 years ago, right, with the cattle industry, the cattle slaughter and torture and slavery industry. Remember how much money we gave them when they were collapsing with COVID, right? Remember all these companies in their slaughterhouses, they were seeing epidemics of COVID because they have crappy conditions, right? Underpaid people and not enough PPE and safety protocols. And we bailed them out. so they love the free market until. So anyway, I'd say to someone who has costs going up, what? They go up and then they're going to go down. That's the real issue. When they go down, no one cuts the price. See? So it's just illogical that when they go up, we should care. I know that's brutal. I know. Eggs are a big part of our carb-heavy diets too. Yeah. I'm confused on that, but give me some more perspective on that. Only because the carb-heavy diet in the USA, for instance, kind of the number one thing is the corn syrup, right? The soda, the oceans of soda, the candy, and then the white bread. So the bread that's on every fucking sandwich, right? Every burger, every sub, every bread, and the worst type of bread, the white flour, kind of stripped carbohydrates, kind of source is a nightmare. So I think those are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are much higher consumed than carbs with eggs in them, which would be cakes and muffins and things like that. Those are certainly on that list, donuts, but maybe they're third or fourth. I think soda's ahead of it. Trader Joe's egg prices have stayed consistent. There you go. I don't think they take advantage of supply chain. Exactly. There you go. So exactly correct. It's about that taking advantage. Can't even agree on the basics. Thank you. Kendall Scott, what's up, my bro? Good to see you on. I know I'm back. Even at 8 or 10 a dozen, it can still be a loss. Well, then we need to rethink it. For people raising chickens, I think we'll have to wait for deflation. Again, though, that's yes, deflation will change it, but it's not. It's a Band-Aid. We're never going to do the right thing, which is a sensible minimum for farm workers. It needs to be the Farm Worker Employment Act of 2023, where we say, here's the lowest amount we could pay someone who will bust their ass in the hot sun for, dawn to dusk often. It's often longer day than any of the rest of us. Anybody who's going to do that and put their hands in the dirt, in the soil, they're in the sun, and we all know the conditions, right? Poor bathrooms, poor bathroom breaks, less than adequate water access, all kinds of things. You read about this. These folks, mostly of Central American descent in our country. In Europe, it's mostly of Turkish and Polish and Moroccan and, North African descent in these European countries doing a lot of this work. In Spain and Portugal, who's picking the vegetables and fruits? Brown-skinned people from Algeria and Morocco and Turkey and, the Middle East. Who's picking our vegetables and processing and slaughtering our animals? Brown-skinned people. Less and less from Mexico, actually, but from Guatemala, from Costa Rica, from Panama, coming up from Colombia, coming up from other countries in Central America. So until we start there, we say, here's the bare minimum you should make doing any of these jobs. But built into that law, we have to say to Dole and Archer Daniels Midland and all these massive food corporations, Kellogg's Incorporated, all these big ones, Yum Foods, right? You know about Yum Foods, Y-U-M. That's an umbrella company that has like 20 other companies in it, a lot of fast food. But we need to say to all of these companies, built into this law are price controls. You cannot raise the price of this, that, and that. We've run the numbers, and any increase now in cost has to come off the top. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Your executives make more than God. They make more than anyone has in human history, proportionate to the tens of thousands of employees doing the actual work. It's got to stop. You'll still have yachts and boats and 8 homes. That's what drives me crazy about this stuff. We're not asking these people to be paupers. We're not asking them to suffer at all. We're literally saying, instead of 28 million, your salary plus your bonus, I'm making that up, but there is a real example of that. Please know that this is just metaphoric speech right now. But not really. We know, we see these numbers all the time, right? You read about these people. All we're saying to them is, instead of 28 million this year, please, we're begging you. Can you find some way to just live on 20 million? Is there any way? But we won't do it. We won't do it. We've got a culture that says, oh, you're punishing the rich. Many of these situations, these people are there because of the lax laws, because of the lax food laws. And so, again, staying on topic, this is what we're talking about. Egg prices, which is such a beautiful starting area because it affects so many people, right? That's breakfast, man. That's people's first expense of the day, pretty much, for food. So, very interesting. Yeah, the executive compensation. I know, and like you said, you need to kill that stuff. And I know, again, we're speaking in general terms, and I know you agree with me because we've talked about it. I can't speak for you, but things we've talked about, I know you agree. Yeah, we don't even have to kill it. We don't have to get rid of it 100%. I mean, temporarily sometimes. One of the amazing things most other countries did in 2008 when we all bailed out the banks. All meaning all first world functional countries and a few in the third world too. But all the countries that bailed out their banks outside the U.S. actually gave them some rules, right? Germany, Iceland, the UK, Netherlands, Argentina, Japan, Australia, all these major companies, major economies, Canada. And what they did was put guardrails on these companies and said, for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever limit of time that they set, you can't do big bonuses this year because we gave you a few $1 billion, we taxpayers. So please, read the room, make it look good. No big bonuses this year. And most companies adhered to that because it was the law in those countries. And if you remember, there was so many stories of companies who got that bailout money. And this happened 2 years ago, too, in the first year of COVID, where we caught these companies, right, doing these big events or giveaways or just somehow not being responsible with our money. So that's an issue, too. Let's come back to some Facebook questions. Scott says, by the way, very cool. Yes. This is a nice hoodie. There is something on the back of it. See, will it show up if I turn around? It's one of these tours, topographic tour, Tales from Topographic Oceans. Yeah, I worked for Yes most of the decade 2011 to 2021, and what a amazing time period. And so there's a bunch of swag. Yeah, I got a bunch of swag from from each tour, and a lot of fun stories and artifacts. And right here in my little stainless steel plate of special pics, here is a Steve Howe pic. Is that in the camera? It's not focusing, but anyway, it says yes. SH. Little teardrop. Special type of plastic he likes. Tim says, it's interesting byproduct of being strongly motivated by individuality. I mean, I am. Yes, and I love that topic. I'm hesitate to say. Well, I am. I'm working on my book. I've been in a bit of a slump about it lately, but I'm picking that back up. But my book that I'm working on, that will be finished this year, if all goes well, is about my music journey. You know, my 30 years of touring, my 45 years of being a musician. My is it that long? 40? Yeah, 40. No, 40 years of being a musician. Um, 40 years of working with electronics. 40 years of being a tape-based noise musician. All kinds of things that I'm celebrating. Decades of working for other people on tour. But another book that's in my head is about America and the journey of America and figuring out the moments that define America. And you raise an interesting thing, this idea of individuality. I just think we make too much of a big deal about Canadians are individuals. What? I mean, we just say it a bit too much, and we also say it like we're the ones who've perfected Kenyans are individuals. I know a bunch of them. Nigerians, the biggest country in Africa, numbers wise, 200 million. Some incredible entrepreneurs, individuals, people who started at 0 and got themselves to 100 because of pluckiness and creativity and entrepreneurship and individualism. I just don't understand where we've kind of axiomatically said those are American qualities. That's one of our problems. There's lots of individualism all around the planet. There's lots of democracy. There's lots of free press. We've got to stop making this thing, because, and the only reason I'm responding this way, Tim, is because it short circuits our attempt to solve our problems, right? We fall back on this thing of, well, we're individuals, so that's why that's happening. No, we're being assholes. That's why certain things are happening. The individual part is a given. It's the nativism. It's the refusal to not even just agree with a few things that your opponent might be saying, but even listen in a non-judgmental way and say, all right, let me really listen to what the opposing argument is. Let me just gonna listen. Okay. Something like that. When I'm listening to the other side, which is often, it's a mix of, but I don't see us doing it often enough. So you're right. That individuality, to me, in Americans, has become too absolutist, so that we're, individually on these different teams. But again, that's going to get off topic and into politics. Let's stick with eggs and other amazing food things. And I'll move on to some other just amazing products that have come out in the last several months, and some amazing bits of news about all this. So Tim is craving eggs right now. I'll have them overdone. A friend of mine raises eggs, feeds them flax seeds for better omegas. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The better you feed chickens, yes, absolutely. It depends. I mean, what organism does health not depend on what you feed it, right? Starting with us. Just mentally, starting with us. So yeah, of course. In fact, if you look, you see that increasingly eggs in the store, you have a bunch of different types, right? The dirt cheap ones, this ones, that ones. There's a lot of eggs that say on it, vegetarian feed. Ever notice that? That's been the last quarter century. They put that on there. The fact that that's a selling point, to me, should be a wake-up call to people. But yeah, certainly these chickens that are fed actual grains and, not so much grains, actually seeds. You're right, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, other seeds. They love seeds. And you see it in nature. If they're picking around and there's seeds around, or there's a squash or a pumpkin that's broken open or something, they'll eat the seeds. They'll eat. So they intuitively know, there's the high density, high calorie part of this plant. They're not conceiving that in language or something, but yeah, obviously these animals have evolved to know what their optimum nutrition is. Bird seed, that we buy, that I need to go put out in front of our house. We took our little bird feeder down when a bear had its way with it a couple months ago, but I'm going to start just bringing it in at night. But what seeds, right? Bird seeds. They eat millet seeds, and they eat, the ones I listed before, sunflower, different things. So absolutely, Scott, if you feed a chicken or other animal flax seeds, which flax is a great food for humans and one of the best sources of not only dietary fiber, but omega fats in general in a beautiful balance. Flax seeds, flaxseed oil, hemp oil, evening primrose oil, borage oil. Wow. Incredible fats that every human watching me right now, because you're all adults, everyone watching should be looking at their fat profile, because it's very difficult in modern, we live in America, so I'll say America, but in modern world, unless you're actually out foraging, hunting, eating wild food, animal and plant, unless you're doing that and doing it at some high density level, which is difficult even for hunters and gatherers. We know quite a bit about their tissue state and all kinds of things. That's a fascinating area to me when they look at, when they find a fossilized human or one that's in a block of ice or something, which is rare, but always incredibly instructive to medical experts, to biology experts. I love that. And there's been many of those, and there probably will be more as the glaciers melt, right? You get these perfect specimens of humans, because we can look at their, various aspects of their body chemistry. We can look at things that they have with them, tools they have with them, food they have with them. We have found, the famous one is they found a frozen guy, and he had a little pouch of mushrooms. Remember that? That was years ago. So my point there, though, is it's always been a challenge for humans to get in the wild like that nutrient density that really is getting all of the nutrients that humans need to thrive. We talk about ancient people a lot, but a lot of times we don't finish it by admitting, at one point 27 was kind of the lifespan of humans, and then it was 42 for a long time. It's a curve. It's gone up, up, up as we've been able to understand simple diseases all the way to complicated diseases, as we've been able to establish things like, just simple things like hygienic water sources. So a bunch of basic things kept bumping human lifespan up, but we should always remember that it was really damn low in some of these ancient times that we hold high. So thanks for feeding me all these topics, though, and sidebars, which are very related. I appreciate it, and hopefully it's an interesting area for y'all. Tim says, haven't seen one of the meetups in a while. I know, I've not been on. I think it was last summer. I toured a lot last summer. Oh my God, I need to sit and write it all down. And I go like this, holding my head like it's a bad thing. No, it's an awesome thing. Man, I give so much thanks and gratitude. I've been working for the one and only Pat Metheny, as you all know, since, let's see, almost 15 months. Yeah, November of 2021, I started working for Pat, and it's been a great year on the road. Superb. 3 continents. However, it's meant that I've curtailed the Monday streaming. We're often working or traveling on a Monday, but I was on a couple times last summer. I forget where, but I think from Berlin and from 1 or 2 other places. But it's been months, my friend. Thanks for showing up. I'm really going to start to try to get back on here, and I got some guests that I have. Making above a certain profit should put it back in the community. Yeah, that's called taxes. You're right. There should be some way capture economic success that has been brought about because of living in a society. And yeah, it's taxes. One of the greatest explorations of this ever is still, there was that viral video, kind of one of the first ones that got her into the news. Elizabeth Warren, she was out talking to some people, just somewhere campaigning, and someone held up a phone and captured her because some guy was browbeating her about taxes should be lower because, you know, whatever company he was talking about, you know, we made this, we made it, which is like a big thing people love to say. I made this business. Well, kudos for your hard work, your investment, the risk you took. Absolutely. I've co-owned a business. I know the risks involved. I know the ups and downs. And we closed because market forces took it to that place. And we just said, all right, that sucks. That experiment didn't work out. But didn't go running to the government, didn't go crying and complaining about the basic reality of the free market, which is a rough and tumble game. Not everyone's going to make it. I just think we don't say that enough. We should have that in civics classes for high school students. We should say to them, 9 out of 10 businesses fail when they start. Restaurants, probably even a higher amount. Doesn't mean give up. Doesn't mean don't have dreams. Doesn't mean don't aspire to be rewarded for your hard work. But that last little bit of realism is left out. So yeah, it's distressing to look around and see that we just keep teaching this lesson that everything's going to succeed, everything's going to be blockbuster, everything's going to be profitable. You know, but jumping back to what Warren had said, she pointed out that whatever your business, and she's a capitalist, she wants people to take capital and invest it and hire others and be rewarded for their risk. But she pointed out that if you have a company and it's thriving, let's say it's a manufacturing company, you thrive from the excellent, well-regulated electrical grid. If you have a factory, one of the first things is you want the lights to stay on in a consistent fashion. You pay for that service. You want it to be. You want the water and sewage systems, which are largely funded and upgraded and came about and are in existence in municipalities where it's sensibly a public responsibility. They're all taxpayer based, as is the stop signs, the traffic lights, the well-paved roads that your employees come to work on. I mean, you can't really have a successful business or success in the United States, just to focus there, or anywhere that's a functioning tax-based democracy. You can't have success without all of us helping you get there. Sorry. And I know that triggers some people. There's this crazy notion, this Wild West cowboy movie bullshit notion that you know, there's someone out there who built their success by themselves. Very peculiar, very peculiar. Julia says, okay, you have a friend raising sheep, chickens, and peas. That's great. That's a nice combo. And I'm not sure if this is the no-kill person, but if they are, that's great, because all three of those are animals that can be a wonderful part of a farm and not get killed, right? They can eat the plants that they normally would eat and the seeds they normally eat. And sheep and chickens especially are going to create incredibly healthy, good organic manure, as long as you're feeding them organic inputs. And they could live their lives happily, providing you with sheep milk if you'd like. Live their lives without being killed. The chickens can provide eggs. The bees, of course, are pollinating all your flowering plants, and maybe some bats are pollinating the rest of them. That's what's amazing, is that there's lots of people are doing it in a harmonious way, which would mean very minimum slaughtering of the animals, even if they kill a couple sheep a year and very sensibly in a non-wasting way, uses the flesh and the muscles of those sheep if they choose to. It's not something I'm going to do, but I have to be honest that that's obviously workable environmentally. What inspires me in large part to do this show is to get people to think about the environment in their food choices, you know? So, yeah, that's some really great comments. Let's see. Continuing on some questions. Sad day when Gore conceded. Yeah, I know, right? That I know, not the most perfect example because yes, there was lots of cheating, as we found out. So we're paying mega bucks to farmers. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Katie, what's up, my friend? How are you? Long time. Antoine Shashuk is here. Good to see you, my friend. Catchup, no ketchup. It's a great day to share the condiment we love. That's right, Jack Pyra. Always use a condiment. Be safe. International ketchup. Tales is your favorite Yes album. That's great. It's a great one, and I've done a few tours where we did, we being collectively the band and the crew and everyone that put it on, but the band played the music, of course. But side 1 and 3 got performed, so that was great to hear that every night, and phew. And to hand Steve Howe the actual Gibson 345, his stereo guitar, his Gibson stereo guitar. Wow, what an amazing man! I think there's Filtron pickups, and it's got that six or 8 position filter switch. Whew, man, oh man, nothing like that guitar. All right, I digress into guitar work. Bassam says, why do you want to punish hard work? If everyone becomes lazy. That's right, I know. The ketchup goes on. Polynesian lentil meatloaf, sticky fingers, barbecue, fresh pineapple. That sounds great. Be getting free eggs from your chiropractor. Okay, great. Yeah, the tablespoon of Barleans morning with your crackers and ketchup. Barleans is great company, great oil company, great fats. I got to get my sense of fats happening again. Yeah, Scott, you're right. Yeah, yearly egg dividends from your fourth quarter profits. I know. Let's see. Todd, thank you. I went with a I just went with a mix of stuff here. It's nice, right? It's just something calming about the wintry kind of trees, and I like it. Thanks. I should get some snow sound effects, which are very. There's a little sound effect that they have, some of the snow videos. Just having a little fun. But good to be back. Good to hear your comments. So let's talk about some other food stuff. There's the egg story will continue. The bird flu is going to continue, and we will continue to see these outbreaks with animals. We have to, because we're racing to the bottom. We want to do things cheaper. We want to treat these animals with even more antibiotics than last year, even more steroids, even more growth hormones, all in this race to deliver the cheapest product fastest. Unfortunately, that's the downside to the American version of capitalism. I just don't get it. And we were loath to pass these laws. So I'll put a link here to an LA Times article on the bird flu thing. There's many articles, you can Google them yourself, but just um, interesting take uh, on the situation. And they point out some really interesting things here. But we're going to see more and more breakout outbreaks of and we have continually of crowded animals and what we're doing to them. There's just no way around it. They are living beings. So you crowd them together. There's poor hygiene. There's suppressed immunity because of all the drugs they're on. They're attacking each other, so you mutilate them. These birds, they cut the sharp part of their beaks off so they don't damage each other. What a cruel, horrible, fucking species we are. Man, oh man, I tell you, the list is endless. But with birds, it's so cruel because that's their nose and their fingers and their tongue and it's like several of their senses are about the beak. That's the way they're experiencing the world. The equivalent of sense of taste and all kinds of things start with that sharp part of the beak, and to cut that off, even for that brief period that they're living after that, just sickening. But again, we do all this stuff. We shouldn't be surprised these animals get sick, and when they do, it's big numbers. But we're not going to change this. While animal farming is at the center of our economics, we're just not going to change it. So great article on that. And let's see. So many new things have come out in the past several months, and a couple of things I wanted to discuss. One of the things we're heading towards is, since animal agriculture is problematic in the large scale, we're heading towards the following. I'll pull it up on the screen. Let me, before I change topics, see if anyone has a comment that I didn't catch. Antoine. Okay, Tim. Yeah, Tim doing some sound design. Nice. I'm resisting the urge to add my own sound effects and stuff, but I'm sitting in my studio here as well. And I love what I've heard of your sound design, so I'm sure it's going to be pretty interesting. Send me a link to something to hear. Antoine says, good snacks for late night gaming. That's a great question because, as a late night studio guy, last night was rough. I was down here like 12 hours ago. I was down here 4 a.m. I was like, dude, get some sleep. And then I missed a call at 11 a.m. And anyway, late night snacks are a thing. One of my famous late night snacks is chips and salsa. Man, I love chips and salsa, right? Chips and guacamole. That's not a good one though. Late last night I had some popcorn. I made some fresh popcorn. Got the olive oil, the organic corn kernels, and just that's a quick 5-minute snack, 5-minute prep, and you just know it's fresh. You just made it. It's as close as you can get. Some salt, some nutritional yeast, some hot pepper flakes. That's not as bad as some other things because it's just corn. It's just fiber, really, relatively low carb because of the high fiber. So that's one that I've come to, and I've said no to other stuff. I think what you want to not have is too many of the heavy carbs. So it's cake and cookies and donuts and shit like that in the middle of the night is a bad thing. Again, splitting that difference and looking at calories, looking at calories and carbs and things. I'll have an all fruit popsicle late at night often, and then not for 6 or 8 months. I'm traveling, but when I'm home, I tend to have popsicles in the fridge because, again, out of all the choices you can get, right, you're picking and choosing, and that's one where, yeah, you can get the carbs relatively low. You can get for one little popsicle, you get the calories relatively low, and not much in it, just fruit juice, sugar, sometimes not even sugar, just fruit juice, pineapple chunks, whatever. So you want to go for something that's as simple as possible. Fresh fruit, middle of the night. I love it. I had 2 last night. We got a CSA, which is a community supported agriculture. We get a box of food every Friday on our porch. I forget how much it is, like $25 a week. And in it is usually, it varies through the year and you can pick and choose. But we got on Friday a little bag of green beans, a bag of spinach, a head of kale, a head of lettuce, beautiful big romaine lettuce. Many things grown locally, some stuff not, like the 6 oranges we got. Some of them with the twig and the leaf still on it, very fresh. So late night, answer your question, late night, a couple, half a grapefruit, right? An orange or 2. Carbs, yeah, but carbs with fiber. Like we don't seem to understand carbs are not just carbs. Something says 14 grams of carbs. I need to know where it's from and what's the dietary fiber, right? A piece of a candy bar that's 14 grams equivalent versus a piece of orange. There's this school of thought, nope, they're exactly the same. They're exactly the same. 14 grams of carbs. Not really. And there's a fallacy that your body doesn't know. Your body knows. Your body knows the difference between some incredibly processed, refined sweetener with all the things it brings along with it, with the lack of minerals, with the lack of fiber, with the lack of whatever else might have been in that source, electrolytes, any kinds of things. Your body knows when it's getting that sugar from an apple, okay, or from a bite of orange or something. Namely, the dietary fiber is in there, and that plays a role in carbohydrate intake and absorption, digestion, everything like that. So that's another one, Antoine, late night snack. If you want to get a little more gourmet and fancy, I always have dates around. We always have dates around, medjool dates. We love them. So get some medjool dates, a date or 2, just solves, for me personally, and I've seen it for other people, is such a great sugar craving sort of thing. Just a couple dates. You want to bump that up, make it more of a protein snack, make it more of a satiating sort of thing late at night. Get a couple dates, take the seed out, take the pit out, and just smear some almond butter on a date. Wow! If you've never tried that, it's the most delicious, amazing, creamy, sweet and savory kind of thing. It touches like a peanut butter and jelly gene or section of our brain, whatever it would be, because you got that combination of nut and kind of sweetness. That's a big one, man. Dates with almond butter. That, if you don't have that in your lexicon, get it in there because it's useful on so many levels. Pack a few of them for lunch. Again, the late night snack thing. Before a workout, after a workout, just a great combo of good carbs, good fiber, and a bit of protein, which almond butter is quite good in. So those are a few off the top of my head, late night snacks. And these are aspirations. That's what I do when I'm on it. On a bad late night binge, I'll mix another fucking vodka cocktail and cook a burrito. We all know what not to do. Yeah, so eating something a little heavy is probably not a good idea. In the middle of the night, you're not going to burn it off. If you're going to stay up for 4 more hours in the studio, then okay, then it is what it is. But I think I hit a couple. I think also protein, just nuts, handful of almonds, mixed nuts. Peanuts are like delicious, but kind of the least cool nutritionally. But always have some nuts around. Here's another late night one I do that's easy to digest and pretty kind on yourself calorically and all that. Miso soup. Wow. A nice bowl of gingery, delicious miso soup with not much in it. Mostly the broth. Chop up a scallion real quick. If there's some dried mushrooms I have, but just miso with scallions. Maybe if there's some tiny little cubes of tofu that you can chop up and put in there. But the key of miso soup is Dead simple, couple minutes. Don't think about it too much. Let it be mostly about the miso. But a nice hot, gingery, kind of again, just a little seaweed and onion for other umami can be amazing late night. Trust me, especially in the winter. So satisfying, so quick. And if you can get past that urge to grab the bag of potato chips, then that's another quick, easy, inexpensive one. Even a pack of the really healthy ramen with the rice noodles in it. I'll do that sometimes late night. That's a little heavier with the rice noodles, but hopefully I gave you a couple options there. I'll close by saying, and I've read this and I've found it to be true. Where's my water? Many times the late night hunger message in our brain, many times it's actually hydration. Your body can sometimes, there's a fine line there that you're craving hydration. So sometimes late night, drink a bunch of water, and enjoy it. I like seltzer. I like straight up water. I drink tap water. I drink spring water. I drink La Croix and those kind of things, which is basically purified tap water with carbonation and like whatever flavor, a little bit of lemon juice or pineapple or lime. Those things are all very natural in their flavorings. But that's a great late night thing too. Just make sure you're hydrated. Drink a can of some bubbly stuff with a flavor if your brain needs some flavoring going on. But I find all the time, because I'm a long time late night eater, what's the word? Survivor. I've gotten past a lot, but when I was younger, man, I'd make meals in the middle of the night, stoned, back from a gig or fooling around the studio or something, and making huge sandwiches and cooking all this shit. Big mistake, just for my personal level of exercise, body type, everything like that. But I think in general, medical experts, nutritionists are all on the page that you really shouldn't have something heavy and then lay down. In fact, intermittent fasting, which I've done on and off for years, that's at the basis of it, that you're stopping putting food in, usually 8 o'clock, and you stay, stay empty till 8 a.m. is it, or 12 noon? I think it varies, I think, but most of the time 12 noon is what I hear, and that's what I've tried out. Let's see. Oh, wow, you had popcorn last night. That's great. All right, Tim, yes, let's trade some music at some point. Todd Reynolds, stuck on the Smart Food cheddar caramel popcorn mix. That's awesome. I'm assuming with the word cheddar in it that it's not vegan. However, and one of my pet peeves is it could be, because they just call it cheddar when it might not be. Let's check that out. But knowing Smart Food, who usually has a milk cheese base, it probably isn't. Let's see. Smart Food caramel and cheddar. Wow, so that's a interesting combo, the savory and sweet. So let's have a dispassionate. I love when people bring up products, because then we can kind of talk about some stuff. Let's have a dispassionate, science-based look at Smart Food. Now, I like the Smart Food company in general. I think the title is a great. The brand name is a great one, because it's a crossroads. You know what I mean? Some people are going to see the word Smart Food and they're going to run for the hills, right? That person who, they're like, I'm not eating that stuff. I just want a burger, or just give me that. Just give me the grease. Just just deep fry the whole thing. I don't care. Why the unhealthy guy has to be a 1970s C.W. McCall trucker video character, I don't know, but it's also not wrong. if you've been in all the truck stops in America, which I have, that guy is usually there eating the worst shit and telling everyone about it. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna just put one of these double, triple steak burgers, and what I do is I get a donut. I kind of see I dip that in some Velveeta and I put it on my double steak burger because I don't give a damn. Goddamn liberals. Next thing you know, we can't even. That guy sees smart food and he runs the other way. Then you have other people who see the word smart food and go, you know what? Yeah, what do they mean by that? And I remember 25 years ago, our keyboard player loved the smart food. They just at that point, I think they just had like a cheesy popcorn sort of thing. And for all the choices that were on the shelf, pretty good. Just corn, which we tend to overeat. But if you're not, it's just popped corn with some cheese on it. You could do worse. So looking at this product, which I have not heard of, I like right off the bat that it says right up front, no artificial flavors, no artificial preservatives. That's great. Kudos. Always points for that. We have seen now decades of evidence that these red number 5 and blue number 3 and all of these things and these high levels of preservatives, we've seen that they are excitotoxins. We've seen that they are a good word to look up. It just means chemical substance used in the food or drug industry that gets some immediate and unpleasant biological responses in humans. And some of these artificial colors and flavors, they've linked to all kinds of problems with kids, cognition, and all this stuff. So the more you can avoid utterly in your life artificial flavors and colors, read those ingredients, avoid FD&C blue number 3 and red number 5 and all these things, which it's amazing in 2023 that they're still legal in the USA. A lot of other countries have banned many of those artificial things, but of course, well, fill in the rest. So I give it points for that issue. To Todd's question, I mean, I was sure it wasn't vegan just because I know the company. But looking at this, let's go through. I also like when these companies list on the bottom, they say contains milk or contains peanuts or contains soy, contains wheat. I love that these companies are just putting those 4 or 5 high allergen foods. They just go right ahead and indicate it on the bottom so you can tell right away. Looking at this, cheddar cheese flavored popcorn, is that the caramel popcorn? Okay, caramel. It's funny because the ingredients don't make it clear they're talking about this exact one. It says ingredients, caramel popcorn, or caramel for some people, and then it says cheddar cheese flavored popcorn. So it's kind of funny. They list 2 other products and not this one. But so I will say, looking further in the ingredients, not a fan of the corn syrup, nor should anyone be who's really looking at cleaning up their sugar profile and looking at non-processed stuff. Corn syrup's the worst. Man, that is bad. Cottonseed oil is the only other thing that I'm amazed is still in food stuff in America. But so the corn syrup is some points off. I didn't know they had that in there. Of course, that's the guilty party in sodas and all that stuff. Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Sprite. Any of these things have not only corn syrup but the high fructose corn syrup. And again, you've been hearing about this for 40 or 50 years, and we've not done much to change it. So that's a bummer that's in that flavor, the top flavor. And then the cheddar cheese flavored popcorn, which must be a separate one, has artificial color in it, yellow 4, 5, and 6. But obviously this caramel cheddar, the one you said on that one, Todd, that one doesn't have the artificial colors and flavors. So that's a good thing. Yeah, as a snack, as a treat, the dairy sucks. It does. Dairy is such garbage and is such at the heart of so much of problems we're having, especially non-organic dairy. It is just utterly garbage in terms of what they're allowed to do, how many things they're allowed to put in it, how old it can be when it's being used in these kind of industrial products. So that's a drag. And you all have heard me say it many times. If you like dairy, then that's cool. Try to optimize it, though. I'm a qualitarian. That's my number one kind of self um, descriptive thing. I'm a qualitarian. I want more quality for people. I want them to have access to quality and information that might impel them to choose based on quality. And quality, higher quality, doesn't always equal higher price. Sometimes it does. That's kind of the Whole Foods model, right? To stick, and that's Whole Foods with a capital W and F. I hate that they've stolen that phrase that we used for years before the store existed. We talk about eating whole foods with small w, small f, which is a clear way to speak about just improving, just eating some whole fresh fruit and vegetables, holding a head of kale or collards or chard or dandelion greens, holding it in your hands. That's still too rare. Dark leafy greens are biologically like one of the most central important foods to human biology. No shit. Go look that up. Leaves, green leaves are so central to our nutrition, to the minerals that we need, to the fiber, to the vitamins that we need. They're bringing water into the body. They're bringing all kinds of things, electrolytes, vitamins, minerals, some of them tiny bits of essential fats, some greens. They're so centrally important, yet I talk to people all the time, or I watch what people put in on their plate or in their shopping cart, and not enough greens. And I don't mean lettuce. Lettuce is nice, eat it, even iceberg lettuce. Eat it, sure, roughage, little bits of vitamins, a carrying kind of a thing for your other vegetables and something nice and some sunflower seeds or things in your salad. But the greens we need to increase are the dark leafy greens. Kale, collards, chard, bok choy, dandelion greens, mustard greens. Did I say broccoli, Rob? Those kinds of things. If you can find some way to add them in, you can't go wrong. But yeah, that's the thing on smart food. Yeah, if it's a treat. Sonia, hey, how are you, Sonia? Sonia says, never eat fruits or veggies late at night. Too much water content. Too much sugar in most fruits for me. Okay, cool. And again, this is where it gets individual. We fine tune. That I answer the question based on, and I said it a number of times. Based on the other available choices, the piece of fruit might. In other words, if it's half of a pint of ice cream versus half of a grapefruit, it's clear that they both have sugar, but the grapefruit is the better choice. But again, everyone responds differently. I understand you're saying you can't have fruit at night. That's cool. And the water content. Okay. I'm because of getting up and needing to pee. Is that what you mean by that? Either way, though, yeah, that's a great. That's a great addition. No processed foods ever. No seed oils. Needs seed oils ever in simple carbs. See, the seed oils thing, again, I would disagree with. What's wrong with hemp seed oil, for instance? Like, walk me through some problems with hemp seed oil. Or fresh pressed organic sunflower seed oil. Those are seed oils. So I think what's happening, this seed oils thing is something that's been. I love watching the trends and watching what goes viral in food discussions. So seed oils and the fear of seed oils is gotten really popular the last couple of years. You see it more and more and more. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think the genesis of it is sunflowers. I'm sorry, scratch that. Sorry, Freudian slip. Is I said it wrong. Cottonseed oil, because cottonseed oil is an oil that's used quite a bit, especially in America. I go to other countries, look at the same product, different breads and crackers, and especially Pringles. Pringles is one of my test things I look at in other countries, as are M&Ms, Coca-Cola, Red Bull, a couple other products. I can't. I just look at them when we're in a truck stop or something. I just check out. Oh, here we are in Germany. Let's look at the difference in ingredients. And those are a good gauge because they're super popular products. Out of all of those, I don't consume any of those except every. Sometimes it's not for years. I will drink a Red Bull once in a while if I really need to stay up. If I'm driving like a long drive and you know you need some double strong caffeine. But I don't like them in the U.S. because they have artificial color and flavor in there. Outside the U.S., strangely enough, the exact same Red Bull, they leave out the artificial colors. Pringles, which I have eaten in Europe. In Europe, Pringles are, you know, potato meal or whatever it is. It's like mashed potatoes, but potatoes, garlic, salt, stuff like that. Some sort of oil, like usually peanut oil or sunflower oil or something. But in the U.S., they use cottonseed oil. So cottonseed oil, that's the seed oil to never put in your body. Wow, that is garbage. And I think somewhere in the last couple of years, someone coming from the Mercola kind of like anti-plant based kind of humans need meat to survive from that side of thought. Someone from that side picked up on cottonseed oil and also the downside of poor quality seed oils. Yes, there's poor quality sunflower seed oil. Canola oil is I'm not a huge fan of. Would be a seed oil, and I think that's another one. Especially the Mercola company, they're obsessed with canola oil. Oh my God. And I'm with them to a degree. Rapeseed oil is the other name for that. Pretty sure it's a plant that was genetically designed actually in Canada. I think so. Canada. So Canada oil, canola. I seem to remember that's the origin of it, but it's the same as rapeseed oil. I'm gonna check myself. I'm checking my memory on that. I may be completely wrong, which I am. Big chunks of time, but and I don't like to. If I put something like that out, I don't like to state it's a fact unless we back it up. Here we go. Canola. Thank you. Was a trademark name of the Rapeseed Association of Canada. There we go. Oh, I didn't know the OLA meant. I thought it just meant oil. Oil low acid. I love learning. I love it. It feeds my soul. And I just learned something new thanks to you bringing up seed oil. Or I might have read this actually 30 years ago, but I forgot because obviously I did remember correctly. So canola just means Canadian oil, basically. And it's pretty sure that they genetically modified, and I think they did it in the old school way. I think they hybridized a couple plants like the way you did before kind of microbiology and modern GMO science. If I remember correctly, again, that's worth looking up. But so yeah, there is a GMO version that came out in 1995. That'd be the non-organic. But yeah, it looks like someone bred it from two cultivars in the early 70s. There we go. So humans did that a lot. They quote unquote engineered, things like the tangelo or the pluot and things like that. That like a pluot's like a plum and an apricot. There's a bunch of hybrid citrus and other things. And GMOs are one of my favorite topics. And the people that are pro GMO usually conflate something that you could have done in 1605, which is simply get a white rose and a red rose, and with grafting, connect them and the actual plants, and come up with a pink rose. And similarly, anyone who's done any basic gardening knows you can hybridize certain things, flowers and things that are in the same family. And I think the GMO people conflate that with truly getting into a laboratory, going down to the genetic level and splicing genes and, looking at genomes and deciding, oh, we're going to put this with that. And this is the important part, I think. Modern GMO crosses the species line regularly. In other words, there's example after example of using pig genes in some kind of a grain or root vegetable or something. Fish genes, very famously, a fish that survives in the Arctic, so its blood doesn't freeze. Very early on, they took what particular gene from that fish and put it into strawberries, so they wouldn't kind of fall apart when they freeze and get this defrosted. So there's a bunch of stuff on GMO, but anyway, expanding on the seed oils thing there. But yeah, nothing wrong with hemp seed oil. So wherever you're reading that, I'd love to see your source of no seed oils ever, because that's frankly not supported by most of human history, and a real clear-eyed look at the chemistry of healthy seed oils. Let's see. Tim's trying one right now. Oh, a date with almond butter? Is that what you're trying? Sonia, almond butter with blueberries. Yeah, sure. And almost anything with almond butter is awesome. Scott, yes, Meatless Monday's back. Yeah, awesome, Tim. How is it? Tell me how that tastes. Smart food, too many bad ingredients. Yeah, I think I went through those. Again, sometimes when I answer a question, it's in a relativist sense, which sometimes relativism is okay. So in other words, if you're standing at that aisle with your kid, and it's either smart food or I don't know, just pick some Cool Ranch Doritos or something like that. I don't even know, because it's not my world. I haven't bought any of those kind of snacks in literally decades. 30 years, 40 years almost. But I look at them. I'm always going to be a natural foods professional in my heart. Always going to be a retailer. Always going to be interested and excited about ingredients. One of my favorite things is the truck stop when you're on a tour, because you go in, you get something good, use the facilities, stretch a little bit, and start looking at new products. Like, okay, what do they have now? But what I'm delighted about, and I report on it here, in my 30 years touring, 30 years being on the road, which 31 actually right now, January 1992, I started touring. What I've loved is the straight trajectory, and it's going only in one direction, of incredible choices, even at a Flying J truck stop, at a, it's mind-blowing to me, at a Wawa, at a 7-Eleven. I just love that increasingly there are, and it started with like Cliff Bars. That was one of the first kind of mainstream, clean, healthy kind of alternatives. Even Power Bars, it's like they almost tried, but there's always such crap in those. But seeing now you can go in and not only have many of the juices and things, remove the artificial colors, remove the sugars, you can get, natural lemonade that's got nothing in it but water, lemons, and sugar. So you can get things like that increasingly. But just seeing things like plant-based jerky or different bars and things that are just dried fruit, or certainly even snacks like potato chips and things where they've gotten rid of all the artificial flavors, all the artificial colors, no hydrogenated oils. Hydrogenated oils were in everything a while back. Remember that, folks? Remember when that was one of the first big ones to move in American food, that no hydrogenated oils. You start seeing that label. And now when you see hydrogenated oils, it's like, what's this? What kind of 1950s Little Debbie bullshit is this? So it's rare, but in the junk food aisle, though, it's quite prevalent. But anyway, my point there is comparing smart food to some other things. If you had to instruct someone and say, yeah, this is slightly the better choice. And so that's where the smart food thing came about. Corn syrup, right? The American diet, unfortunately, too much of it. Yeah, it's tough to, always tough to generalize, but too big a slice of the American diet is incredibly bad news. Where it gets interesting is that's very regional. I mean, the average diet in the big cities of California, for instance, is on average better on the protein sources, better on the fiber and lack of artificial and hydrogenated oils and things, better on the fresh fruit, on average, than the cities in Indiana or Ohio or Illinois or someplace in the middle of the country. Um, but it's really hard to generalize. And other than saying yes, the standard American diet needs some work. Qualitarianism. That's right. Ice cream. Yeah. Again, though, there are healthy ice creams. So it's. I don't eat dairy ice cream, but if someone says to me, "Hey, what do you think about this?" and it's like some organic version, and all those companies are doing organic ingredients now, or plant-based. So yeah, a good food, especially if you make it from scratch. I'm talking about the fake vegetable oils: canola, cottonseed, sunflower, etc. Okay, so I'm a few minutes behind, and so addressing some of that. Out of those, though, what's wrong with sunflower? I just don't understand why the sunflower is lumped in with that. Again, I specifically said, what about organic cold pressed sunflower? So you're saying it, but then you're still lumping sunflower in with fake, and sunflower is anything but fake. But agreed, and you nail it bringing up canola, which I spent some time on, and cottonseed. But again, we got to be careful. If someone overhears you in a supermarket saying, "Don't eat any seed oils," then they're going to think, "Don't eat any seed oils," right? We got to reckon with this stuff and how we and believe me, not mansplaining to you, telling you how to talk. But answering your question specifically. But also, that's a voice in my head every day. If I'm talking to another human being, especially if I'm in a natural food store or I'm in a teaching kind of a situation where you want to be incredibly careful about absolutes and about saying what you're saying. So again, I would just offer, please don't say don't eat seed oils, because then people are going to think, oh my God, yeah, she knows what she's talking about with natural foods here. I know she's a very healthy person, so I'm not eating any seed oils. Give them a little more input there, that it starts with cottonseed. Avoid that like the plague. And then canola would be second, especially non-organic canola oil. But there is organic canola oil. That's the non-GMO. But yeah, no need to lump sunflower in with that. Sunflower is an excellent oil, excellent protein, excellent food, sunflower seeds. Yeah, high fructose corn syrup and stuff. Yeah, so again, some of that we were talking about earlier. GMO oils are also carcinogenic. That's a big jump. We don't know that for a fact. They're just questionable on a bunch of levels, but they have they're adjacent to some cancer numbers. One of the things with cancer is, this could be a whole other discussion, but and I'm not a doctor, not a nutritionist, just a former natural lifestyle, natural foods professional for over 15 years who has had this discussion with nutritionists, chiropractors, medical doctors, biologists, microbiologists, cancer specialists. Lost my other half of 20 years to cancer. So a lot of this discussion. And I think what they do know is the cancer picture overlaps with the fats picture and omega-3, 6, 9, understanding those, understanding linoleic acid, linolenic acid, understanding PUFAs and, what does EFA stand for, I just said. Understanding hydrogenation, understanding saturated fat, non-saturated fat, understanding just, and those are the basics. We should all be looking at that for cancer prevention. And I think in that picture, the GMO fats, it overlaps a bit, but send me something or put a link here if you've seen otherwise. But the absolute connection that GMO equals carcinogenic, I've seen this discussed a bunch, and while there's some smoking gun stuff, there's no definitive causality there. So that's tricky. We just have to be the highest level of when we say stuff, and we're such scrutiny on us, and by us I mean you, natural foods person, natural foods lifestyle person. We just have to, and anyone else that's interested enough for this, we just have to be super careful, because those are the things that come back to bite us. When we stick kind of some questionable stuff in the basket with the very vetted stuff. As we both know, that critical brother-in-law, that critical person at work, or that critical friend is going to seize on the stuff that just isn't true, and kind of look at our whole argument and say it's problematic. So very tricky to say that. Derek says, if you use the cat gene, you can have a plant with 9 lives. Very funny. Truck stop food in PA. Yeah, PA is great. PA is one of the trucking capitals of the USA, because almost every route you're gonna go through Pennsylvania at some point. So it's like, man, your state has the Flying J's, has the what's the other big one? Flying J and TA. What that stands for? Travel something. But all those truck stops, we love it driving through Pennsylvania. Rite Aid also having a lot of vegan food and plant-based jerky and stuff. Exactly. And right, the standard American diet, sad is what it spells, right? Sunflower oil is usually processed. Yeah, again, that's cool. I respect your choice to stay away from it, but there's nothing wrong with good cold-pressed organic sunflower oil. And again, the word processing gets us in trouble, because olive oil is processed, right? They're not. You're not opening a container of olives and rolling it in one of those stone rollers. So it's processed, and often with solvents and all. So olive oil, you've got a real gradient of quality. But I'm with you though, sticking with organic olive oil where I can. Most of the time we buy that, but sometimes on sale, if it's extra virgin and a relatively known brand, I'll get non-organic olive oil. But everything's processed if we're not eating 100% raw food. So no reason to make that decision on kind of this thing that's starting to float around about seed oils out there. Very interested. I'm hearing that more and more. Okay, I don't eat seed oils. Okay, that's again fine. Fine to not do that. Sunflower oil is created with high heat and is high in O2 in O6. Okay, I as far as I know, there's cold pressed sunflower oil, but maybe are you talking about in snacks, or yeah, I'm not clear on that. I tend to use oil. This is a great discussion though, because it makes me think about, I tend to not buy many cooked versions of oil other than, like I said before, one of my go-to snacks is chips of various sorts. I love the Siete chips, which are cassava based, and I think that's avocado oil. So again, it's a non-seed oil, and I'll get organic corn chips sometimes, and those are usually a cold pressed oil of some sort. So again, those are not the ones created at high heat. It sounds like you're talking about something that we avoid already anyway, which is oils of a low quality. And the only thing I would leave you with is maybe rethink the seed oils part, because that's recent. I've never heard you say that, and I've talked to you about natural food for many years. So to me, it sounds like you saw it somewhere, kind of recently, because I had this discussion with someone a couple months ago who was like a bodybuilder type person. I know that's not where you're coming from, but this bodybuilder type person was saying no seed oils, and we had a very parallel discussion. So it's interesting to me. But rather than seeds being the criteria, I would say maybe remember something you already know for sure, which is, and you've said it, kind of marbled into what we're talking about. It's source quality, so organic or not organic, GMO, all that, and then processing type. It's not the processing is a bad thing. Like we say, I don't eat processed foods. We mean Little Debbie snacks and Twinkies or something, obviously at the heart of that. But something to just be ready to clarify to people, because Cliff Bars are processed and they're a century better than some other kind of things that would be on the shelf that are treats. So I would just say, yeah, factor in a little bit more that sort of thing. Like, what's the source? What kind of seed we're talking about? What kind of processing? Otherwise, it just puts this information out to people who might not know the issue as nuanced as you do. So yeah, sunflower oil is not created with high heat. That's a categorical statement that isn't true when we look at the dozens of brands of cold pressed sunflower oil. So there's eat good fats and lots of them. Great. I you know the good stuff baked into this. Just this one little thing that I'm finding fascinating. Yeah, eat good fats and a sensible amount of them. Natural FDA, lots of manufacturers use that word. It's not actually natural. There's some borderlines around the word natural. There's a meaning to it. It's been eroded, and it means people still need to read. What I always tell people, and I have for decades, because it says on the front natural, still read the back, right? Heroin is natural. So, back when they put cocaine in Coca-Cola, that's natural. So I'm with you that the word natural has been abused. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Not organic so far. Okay. Most processed foods are made with bad oils. Yeah, generally speaking, like the mainstream kind of chips and donuts and all the breads that are used in fast food sandwich places. Absolutely. Those are generally cottonseed, a lot of hydrogenated oils, a lot of hydrogenated fats, a lot of margarines that are shitty ones. Yeah, absolutely agreed on that. Derek only cooks with oil of Olay. That's where you get your youthful and beautiful skin. Yeah, that's incredible. Coconut oil, yeah, that hasn't come up, but that's a great oil. And coconut is the tricky one because you got to make sure it's fresh. Coconut, you get some rancidity problems, some storage problems. So coconut's a tricky one, but is used in huge swaths of the planet. People near the equator and lower than the equator, where coconut trees are ubiquitous. Whether it's Indonesia, Polynesian islands, India, many parts of Africa, many parts of South America, many islands in between all of the above. Yeah, coconuts, major. Central South America. And they're using coconuts fresh, cut off the top, drink the water, cut that in half, get the jelly out of it. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't travel well. Raw coconut water being one of them. All that stuff gets pasteurized to come to us. But coconut oil, superb. Yeah, really great. Just making sure that it's really as fresh as you can. All right, I'm going to wrap up by jumping over to some YouTube. See if there's any new questions on YouTube. By the way, folks, if you haven't, please subscribe to my YouTube. I do a lot of music there. I'm going to do increasing amounts of that. And my Patreon is also something that's keeping me super busy. I'm going to be doing more of that and more streams here and on Twitch. But today marks the return to Meatless Monday, and we're going to be doing this as regularly as I can while I'm off the road. There's my YouTube. Please subscribe. It's in the chat. Easy to remember. YouTube.com/myname. That's where the trouble comes in. Most of you couldn't spell my name, but sounded that. Coconut oil, yes. Oil pulling, especially in your mouth, yeah. Yeah, there's some debate on the killing bacteria and all that stuff, but really great, really great fat, and centuries of use. Um, Lauric acid. Coconut oil has lauric acid. It can be linked. Can be. They say. They're being careful. Can be linked to killing stuff. Maybe it's antifungal. Yeah. I didn't know about bacteria, but fungal. It's just good stuff. Yeah. Some of those things they're a little unsure of, but it looks like they're saying there's antifungal properties. I just love it, and yes, big endorser of coconut in all ways. Use the oil, put it on your skin, put it in your hair. Love it. Love Thai food. Coconut milk in a curry or something. Psh, amazing. So, all right, well, I'm going to jump out of here. What about the dust of the Grand Wazoo? That is good stuff. And you never know. Frank was probably making fun of some herbal dust that Don Preston was using. Because remember, he he made fun of all the guys in the Mothers who might have been into natural food and stuff like that. He always made fun of that. Don, we can see your aura, and it's not good. All right. All right, so next week we'll talk about some of the other stuff that I've had. One of them, though, and it's going to be here for the rest of our lives, is the I'll leave you with this, the lab-grown meat. Lab-grown. Israel and Singapore have both kind of really pushed forward on this and have it available now. I think Singapore was the first one to pass major laws about saying, yeah, let's do this. Because they have serious space problems. They have issues there, and they also have the affluence to try different venture capitalist stuff like this and see if it's going to work. Anyway, growing topic as we look at the environment and the impossibility of having an animal-based economy, animal growing, grazing, and slaughtering. We just can't sustain it. The water can't take it. The soil can't take it. So I predict we're going towards lab-grown flesh foods, and that's not even a skilled prediction. It doesn't take much to see that that's one of the things we're heading towards. So thank you, Derek. Derek is a longtime patron of mine, and my Patreon, I'm trying to expand it this year and have some new things, new ideas. There's the link. Check it out. I've got even a $3 level that you can jump in where you just get my road reports and one of my performances per week. But check it out if you would. Glenn was here. He'd be singing TV is King by the Great Tubes. Yeah, we just lost another tube, right? Rick Anderson, right? Is that who just died? Yeah. I think it was Rick Anderson. It's no good to say someone's dead unless you're sure. But yeah, Rick Anderson died at 75, almost a month ago. And that's two people who have died because Vince Welnick, right? Passed away. But I thought, did someone else die? Reese Styles, right, the singer. In also last year. Or Ray Styles. Yeah, love the Tubes. Seen them a couple times. All right, we're going to go out like we came in with a little atonal. A little atonal bit crushed guitar loop. And it's original music, so YouTube and Facebook can't shut me down. So thank you so much, folks. A great hang. See you next week, and see you on some Patreon streams. Live every Friday night performance. DM me for details.